Assalamu alaikum, fam. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to say hi, Wanero.
Salam.
Alright, so let's begin. We're digging in on Shakespeare's Julius Caesar play. Quite nerdy. Macbeth is my favorite Shakespearean play. This one has been excellent so far because, as you know, Caesar is one of my favorite characters in history. Alright, let's begin. We were in Act 1, Scene 3. Cicero is speaking. Okay? Indeed, it is a strange disposed time, but men may construe things after their fashion, clean from the purpose of the things themselves. So here, what do you get? Men may construe things after their fashion, so twisted to fit their narrative, right? So that they can use it how they see fit. Come Caesar to the capital tomorrow, Casca. He doth, for he did bid Antonius send word to you he would be there tomorrow. Good night then, Casca. The disturbed sky is not to walk in. This disturbed sky is not to walk in. Interesting. Farewell, Cicero. Exit Cicero. Enter Cassius. Now this is a dialogue between Cassius and Casca. Who's there? A Roman. Casca, by your voice. Your ear is good. Cassius, what night is this? A very pleasing night to honest men. Whoever knew the heavens menace so? Those that have known the earth so full of faults, for my part I have walked about the streets, submitting me unto the perilous night, and thus embraced. Casca, as you see, have barred my bosom to the thunderstone, and when the cross-blue lightning seemed to open the breast of heaven, I did present myself, even in the aim of very flash of it. So here, what do you see? A very pleasing night to honest men. So it's kind of like, dishonest men, what was above this disturbed sky. What does Cicero tell Casca? This disturbed sky is not to walk in. And then Cassius and Casca are like, this is a good night for honest men. So you see the kind of contrast here, right? Casca. But wherefore did you so much tempt the heavens? It is the part of men to fear and tremble, when the most mighty gods by token send such dreadful heralds to astonish us. So here, dreadful heralds to astonish us. So seeing dreadful herald as in like a warning, an admonition, a sign, an omen, right? That is to wow you, be like, hey, weather is a sign for them. Lightning, Zeus, they see the weather as something to be like, oh, better get inside, better not, right? Cassius. You are dull, Casca, in those sparks of life that should be in a Roman you do want. So, this one I like, it was a little sassy, right? Those sparks of life that should be in a Roman. Now, remember, what did Cassius say previously? Who's there? And Casca said, a Roman. Now, Cassius is insulting him, saying that he lacks something of a Roman. Do you see how Shakespeare he played there? Shakespeare played with him. He's like, a Roman. And then he's like, by your voice, you're Casca. And then here he's like, you're dull. You don't have that fire, that light. That's funny. Or else you use not. So he's like, you don't use it. It's like funny. You look pale and gaze and put on fear and cast yourself in wonder. So what do you see here? So a Roman should have a glow. Shouldn't be pale. Shouldn't have like a dull gaze, but like a focus. Right? Determination, right? To see the strange impatience of the heavens, but if you would consider the true cause, why all these fires? Why all these gliding ghosts? Why birds and beasts from quality and kind? Why old men fool and children calculate? Now this is interesting because it's supposed to be the opposite. Children to play around and the old men to calculate. Now he's saying everything's backwards. The roles are reversed, right? The monstrous quality, why you shall find that heaven hath infused them with these spirits to make them instruments of fear and warning. So to see the signs of like how everything is just not right, Gliding ghost sounds kind of strange, as in like fogginess, the clouds. Remember they saw the birds of prey were not really where they're supposed to be, seeing them in the marketplace when they're not supposed to. So he's trying to say like, hey, something ain't right here. Now could I, Casca, name to thee a man most like this dreadful night? So name a man who represents everything kind of strange under the night. But, what did Cassius say? A very pleasing night to honest men. So, you can look at the night as an admonition or a warning for the good or for the bad, depending on whose side you're on, right? That thunders, lightens, open graves, and roars as doth the lion in the Capitol. So here, thunders, so the comparison of the charging sound of the weather, of thunder, and the sound of when a lion roars, Caesar being the storm, Caesar being the lion. Both their playing of this metaphor of the literal weather, the omens of their religiosity behind the weather, and then the gallantry, glorious nature of their warrior man Caesar, to also the symbolic side of being a lion. So he's playing with both of those there. Opens graves. You see? Like, whoa. Doth the lion in the Capitol, and the Capitol is Caesar. A man no mightier than thyself or me. Now look at that. That's a lie, right? It's like, he is mightier than you. That's why you're you and he's him. In personal action, yet prodigious grown and fearful as these strange eruptions are. Casca. 'Tis Caesar that you mean, is it not, Cassius? Cassius. Let it be who it is, for Romans now have thews and limbs like their ancestors. So here you see them bringing up ancestors, right? Lineage, heritage. Remember, they were playing with each other like a Roman. What is a Roman? And then they're insulting each other. Are you a Roman? So you're getting at the traditionality here. But woe the while our fathers' minds are dead, and we are governed with our mother's spirits. Ow! So about the Roman culture, it's like, it's patriarchy, it's masculine, it's onward, right? And then the Roman female side is, bacchanalian and not exactly what you want to have, right? I mean, we're gonna say misogyny. These were not liberal feminists, okay? Spare us. They were like, no, this is emotional, chaotic, Hera, the wife of Zeus type of energy going on, vindictive, conniving. This was a warrior culture of a masculine forward republic, right? It's really interesting. Our yoke and suffering show us womanish. Oh, Shakespeare. So, yoke. It's like, there's several ways you can use the word yoke. You can say to a guy, you're yoked. You got muscles, right? You got a body, stature, stocky, right? A yoke is just something you put upon an ox when he pulls the cart. Yoked means he's strapped up, he's harnessed up. And so here you can see when they say sufferance as well, how much can they endure? How much pain can they endure? So he's saying that the figure and the suffering level is that of a woman. It's not of a typical Roman man. So in Shakespearean fashion, he's like, womanish. Don't tell the feminists, they're gonna get mad. Casca. Indeed, they say the senators tomorrow mean to establish Caesar as king, and he shall wear his crown by sea and land and every place, save here in Italy. So here, what are they fearing? The people love Caesar. Remember when they said that he had pushed the crown away from the back and then from the forward of his hand? And that each time he seemed kind of longing for it, to be a sort of king / dictator. This was a big deal for them because they wanted to have a republic. Representatives, They don't want the, a monarchical type of situation. So they're worried, with how loyal Caesar's soldiers are to him, that he would usurp, right? The love of the population was very apparent. I know, Cassius is saying this, I know where I will wear this dagger then. Cassius from bondage will deliver Cassius. Therein ye gods ye make the weak most strong. Therein ye gods you tyrants do defeat. Nor stony tower, nor walls of beaten brass, nor airless dungeon, no strong links of iron can be retentive to the strength of spirit. So what is he saying here? Airless dungeon. Okay, do you remember in the Gulag Archipelago when Alexander Solzhenitsyn was saying how in the stench of the bodies, when they wouldn't let air go through, they had like 100 people packed in a cell, that the smell itself was awful and there was only one toilet. It was humid, it was stenchy, it was stinky, and that even when people were next together and they were sweating, they got skin diseases because of how condensed they were. So an airless dungeon, that not only are you in a dungeon of darkness and sadness, but the smell element and the lack of free-flowing air makes it worse. There are some dungeons where you're in a dungeon, but the bars allow air to go more through it, so you're able to endure the solitude differently. And so when he says that no airless dungeon can retain the spirit, mean trapping that strong soul within it, that the strong person can endure it, and that even if there is an airless dungeon, it can't hold the strong warrior spirit back from bouncing back and continuing in its strength. You see here how just within those two lines, that potent examples in there. Nor strong links of iron. So chains. Some dungeons, they would chain your foot, chain your hands to the wall. So here it's saying that if you were chained to the wall or chained by your one foot and the air was stenchy, right, and you're in a dungeon, you would think that that would collapse the human spirit. But he's saying the opposite here, that no, it won't retain that soul. The soul will continue forward, even though it be stuck, right? It can be retentive to strength of spirit, but life being weary of these worldly bars. So here you see worldly bars, of earth prison, right? There's a mental prison, literal prisons, economic prisons. So he's getting at another example here. Never lacks power to dismiss itself. If I know this, know all the worlds besides. That part of tyranny that I do bear, I can shake off at pleasure. Thunder still. Casca. So can I. So every bondman in his own hand bears the power to cancel his captivity. So what do you get here? Every bondman in his own hand bears the power to cancel his captivity. You have the power to stop being a slave, right? This has been something very unique. People have said that you can be in a prison but not in a mental prison. You can be free but be in a mental prison. There's different types of examples of what being in a prison is, right? So if you want to extract this out, in an Islamic way, your iman is with you in your heart. You have pure tawheed. And even if you are in a moment of exile, totally alone, you can feel like you're in a prison, but your spirituality makes it so that you're not in a prison, so that you don't break down, so that you don't fall apart. That wherever you are, that is where your essence is, like your strength, your endurance, right? Luxury should not be the blanket of your faith, right? So your strongness is in your faith. You're getting at this in the same way. When they're talking about worldly bars, strength of spirits, that strong links of iron, an airless dungeon, that can't, keep you. And that you can overcome a tyrant. That you can overcome your own captivity. You have the power to not be a slave. Today, you see the opposite. I mean, think about how Shakespeare is writing this in Elizabethan Tudor's time in England, right? You have peasants listening to this in the plays. You have peasants who are hearing this recited, And they're hearing this, example of a Roman yet slash English view of you have the power to not be a slave. You may be poor, but you don't have to be a slave, right? Today you see the cultural Marxist victimhood narrative of your ancestors was a slave, therefore you can't achieve today. No, you have the capitalist market, you have other means, a digital economy. You can have a more hopeful tone, the entrepreneurial tone of hope and, the maverick energy, right? The rugged individualism, the go for it, the keep trying till you drop energy, right? But now you see you can compare this Shakespearean type of energy going on here to what's happening today. It's all about victimhood. It's all about, blame your parents, blame your boyfriend, blame your neighborhood, blame, this, all these systems, all these chains keeping you up, when in reality, Allah is testing you and you have the power to overcome your own captivity. You don't have to be a slave in the mind. So that's one benefit about reading these Shakespearean plays, is that as you read it, we're talking about Casca and Cassius and Caesar, but we're also talking about ourselves. And Shakespeare is also talking to us, right? So that's why it's important to teach these types of ways of poetry, the syntax, the style of the English, not dumbing it down, right? And to make your mind wonder, because you're like, it's embedded with so much that we can learn from. Mashallah. So I hope you liked that, and nice, man. We learned quite a lot. Alhamdulillah. And that was scene 3, act 1.